Hello. Is it working? Oops. Hopefully it's working. YouTube's always slightly behind the Zoom. Um oh God, it's really behind. Let's see. Hopefully it's gonna come live in a minute. Um Yay. Yay. Oh, I'm so behind. Okay, hi, welcome to the Zoom meeting. Wednesday is the new day for these streams now. So Wednesday at 5 p.m. UK time. Um, just thought I'd spice it up a little bit. Spice it up. Yes, so yeah, the Zoom link is on my Facebook page along with the YouTube link. So you're welcome to join the Zoom with your cameras on or off. If your cameras are on, they will be on also on YouTube. So just bear that in mind. But please be muted either way. If your camera's off or on, please have your microphone switched off to avoid noise, extra noise. Yeah, so the title of this stream is Leaving Yourself Behind. I'll just take a minute because I've rushed back home, got some dinner in the oven, chopped salad, ran upstairs and set this up. So just take a minute to pick my nose. Oh, yummy, 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 yummy. Yeah, leaving yourself behind. So I'm not sure if you're new to this subject or not. I'm sure some of you are new, some of you aren't that are watching this. Um, so I don't know how this is gonna land for you. Um, I've learned some modern lingo, land, receipts, stand on business. I love how young people create these create language slang. It's so cool. But yeah, I'm not sure how it's gonna land for you. How it's gonna land. That's so funny. How it's gonna land. Stand on business. That's so cool. Sorry. Yes. Yeah. But yeah, I speak anyway, and maybe there will be some touching upon that, some resonance, or maybe it'll be what? Confusing and yeah, contradictory. Um, yeah, leaving yourself behind. Um, I mean, that title is so unusual. Like you don't hear something like that about leaving yourself behind. You know, like that doesn't make sense in the normal context. Leaving yourself behind, like how would you leave yourself behind? Like, how would you do that? The only possible interpretation of that to fit in that context, that normal context would be, oh, is that neglecting yourself, leaving yourself behind, not like neglecting yourself or something like that. Um, so it sounds unusual. Yeah. So what do I mean by leaving yourself behind? What does that title mean? So yeah, it's a very unusual title. Just think it's so beautiful. I think it's so beautiful. Like what it's saying and referring to is so beautiful. So I'll just yeah, let it come forward a bit. So we aren't who we think we are. We aren't who we think we are. We think we're a person moving in time, a story moving in time, a description moving in time. The experience of being human is often to be identified and be a person, be that story, that someone, that description of someone moving in time in the world. Um, and that isn't who we are. That isn't who we are. And so what waking up is, it is a recognition of that, a recognition of that's not what we are. We aren't that. We aren't that movement, that story, that description of someone moving through the world, moving through time. That isn't who we are. And so we've been identified to that person, to that story, to that identity of someone, that character of someone, until this waking up happens, where it begins to reveal, let's say, what truly is, what we truly are, as opposed to a person, a someone, a character, a story. And so I guess leaving yourself behind is referring to leaving behind that description, that story, identity of someone. Because that story identity of someone isn't what's here. It isn't actually what's here. It appears and disappears. It's not what's actually here. So it isn't really a rebuking, a rejection of that character, person, identity. It isn't a rejection of that at all. It's more a remembering, a recognition of what, an abiding embodying of what we actually are. Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, embodying could be like seen as like you're taking this new, you're taking this on, but I don't mean it like that. Um, but it's more a recognition, maybe is a good word, but not at the level of head, not just merely as a mental thing. That's the maybe the initial part, but the embodying I think refers to more actually that being true on every level, not just on the head level, but that actually being what you are. And that seems to often take time, but yeah, relieving relieving yourself behind, leaving that character, that identity behind. It doesn't mean that there isn't an identity or a character, it's just that isn't who you are anymore. That isn't who you are anyway, but that isn't who you are anymore, because before you were identified with that person, there was this, it wasn't even that you were doing that, it was just this strong identification with that identity, that character, that person. And there seems to be this breaking that can happen. Yeah, this revealing that can happen. That character isn't who you are. That person isn't who you are. And this is what I would say is freedom. This is freedom. This is happiness. This is peace. This is freedom. Because it isn't about you anymore, meaning that person anymore, that storyline anymore. That isn't that isn't the reality of things. That isn't the ground of things. Mm. But the head immediately is like leaving yourself behind. The head is like, well then who do I be? Who do I what do I become? Who do I be? That's the initial, like, who do I be? What do I live from, latch onto? um yeah. Who do I be? Who do I latch onto? The mind is wanting to be something, like live through something. It's such a joy. It's such a joy. Mm. Yeah, let's open for questions. So there's nobody in Zoom. I will go to the chat box till someone joins the Zoom. What does it mean to leave yourself? Well, I've just answered that, I think. As much as I wish I could leave myself. Any questions in the chat or in Zoom? Oh. So here's a question. So what are the non-dual teachings insinuating that we are pure awareness? I am. So what are the non-dual teachings insinuating that we are pure awareness? I am. But it depends what non-dual teaching you're referring to. I don't know. There are so many different approaches and teachers, so I'm not really sure exactly what you're referring to. Um, it depends who you ask, I suppose. Um, so I can only speak about what's coming out here. So so, yeah, so what's coming out here? So we are pure. So what are the non-dual teaching insinuating? So I don't know if it's insinuating it, but like what's being described, pointed to. I'm asking you, yeah. I'll answer. I'll answer here. I can't speak about other non-dual teachings. Yeah, it just seems quite broad in general. Non-dual teachings. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Uh. What are they insinuating? I suppose what's being insinuated, if that's the right word, is that this humans believe and experience themselves to be a person. So imagine this like machine, this human body, and it has a machine software going on, and the software is reporting it's a person, it's an individual separate person. It's in a world separate, everything is separate, it is separate. Um, And that experience, what non-dual teaching is insinuating is that that experience, which is the normal experience that humans tend to have, they are living in their head, they are living as a story, as a description. That isn't truly who you are. That is that the story, that experience is happening, and it's a dream happening. It's happening, but it's not true. It's a program running. It's a story running, and who you truly are, or what truly is not in that story, is this. By this, I mean everything that is happening. Everything. And you want somebody, you want that separate person. There is this stillness, emptiness, and there is this everything, this fullness, wholeness. And although it may be appearing as a dream, as a narrative, as a someone, that isn't, that's an appearance appearing. It isn't true. And the human experiences suffering, a lot of suffering in this identification with that dream, and experiences seeking to get out of that suffering. And so I suppose what's being suggested is that that experience that most humans have experience that was happening here, and you can see it's happening in other humans, that there's an alternative, that the human doesn't need to be identified to that story, that experience of itself being someone, of itself being a person, that this is a program running. And there's a possibility of that not running. There's a possibility of this empty, still, fullness, everything being free and not being identified to a person, not being identified to the mind. There's a freedom here, an expansiveness here that isn't trapped in the mind, isn't trapped in the story of you. And I suppose that's what's being spoken about, this other possibility. Thank you for that question. Is that last question still relevant, or did I answer it in the first? Let me know. And just to add there that different speakers, some speakers you do use pure awareness or I am and these different terminologies. I don't tend to use pure awareness or I am, but they're just different ways of calling things. It's just different terminology. Um, Still relevant as to who were we before the program and who we will be after this program ends. Yeah, well, that's what's being pointed to, like who we are before the program started and after it ends. That's what's being pointed to, and that's what's being resonated with. That is what is. So the ocean's a great analogy, or the sky, or but let's use the ocean. So the ocean, like imagine a choppy ocean. So the ocean appears as waves. Waves appear and they crash and they fall and disappear back into the ocean. So it seems as if the wave has an independence to it, a form to it, a limitation to it. But we know that this form of the wave is a form of the wave. It's still the ocean appearing as that form. It crashes back into the ocean again. So with that analogy, there is the ocean. That is always the ocean. So even though it appears as a seeming story, a form of someone, it's actually always wet. It's always the ocean. It's always water. So whether the form is there or not, it's still always the ocean. And that's what's being referred to. And it seems as if while the human's living and it has this brain with this intellect that it has, that it seems to have this program of I am the wave or I am the human, and it's learning about who it is and gathering more and more knowledge about being human and who it is. But it seems to forget it's the ocean, and it takes on, identifies fully with being the form of the wave. And so it thinks it has 80 years of life and it has to be happy and find happiness and be successful and all these different things. It believes itself to be that as part of the program, and it's caught up in that, it's lost in that. That's all it knows is the life of the wave. The other waves saying, hi, I'm wave two, and da, 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 da. Let's form groups, let's do this. So that's what's happening. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. It's just what happens. But there's just something that feels wrong with that. Something feels missing. And what's being insinuated in this non-dual teaching is that what is wrong with that is there's been a forgetting of what you actually are. So the way the ocean, let's say the ocean analogy. So this ocean, let's say it's looking through the wave because it is the wave, but it's forgetting it. Oh, it's the ocean. It believes it's the wave. It's this form, this limitation. 80 years of life and da 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 da, and it's living as a wave. And so waking up is this remembering, this revealing of all of the ocean. So somehow, while there's a wave, a form, a seeming limited form, there's a possibility of the ocean being recognized. Sorry, there's a possibility of the ocean being recognized, which is amazing. Amazing. The wave can somehow, the wave can't, but there's a recognition of the ocean. Ah, 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 ah. Ah, 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 ah. Yes. Um, but there's a but coming. I'm not sure the but. Is that too complicated? Maybe. I was going to add a but to it. The wave can believe it's the ocean, but that's not true. The wave can, there can be recognition of the ocean, and then the wave can believe and think it's the ocean. Mm. But it isn't the ocean, and it sounds really confusing. The wave can recognize, there can be recognition of the ocean, but the wave, although it is the ocean, the wave is the wave. So the wave can believe it's the ocean, but it's a belief. It's a thought, a belief. So what waking up actually is, and then they call this deepening and embodying and this deepening process because the wave can claim it's the ocean, and that's not true. It's the wave still being separate in its separateness, seeming separateness, believing it's the ocean. That's the early stages, let's say, of waking up. Um, as this deepens, it isn't the wave waking up. The ocean is and can only be the ocean. And so you could say maybe the wave falls into the ocean, so there's just ocean. But the ocean would st is st yeah, maybe it's a bad analogy. It's after a certain point, but what I'm trying to express is the wave formation of the wave appears, but it's no longer there's no longer a wave in it. I can't how to explain how to explain that. The wave is now empty of this idea of separation, of being separate from, yeah, from the ocean. Yeah, I mean, how do you explain that? I don't know. The ocean is we're waving rather than the wave oceaning. I don't know. I don't know. Is that clear? Was that a good description? So it's like so it's like rather than the wave going all emotion and seeing all emotion, it's more like the ocean takes over. The ocean takes over. Yeah, the ocean takes over. Mm. So the wave isn't separated off anymore. Before it felt like it was a separate wave, separate to the ocean. So even understanding and believing it's the ocean, it was still separate in that, apart from the ocean, in that belief. So the ocean took over and the ocean became everything. So it's the end of the end of the ocean being lost in that form. Yeah, it's a difficult one. Yeah. If you can feel what I'm trying to express, like, mhm. I don't feel like the ocean. I feel more like a little puddle on the street corner. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, the ocean takes over. Yeah, I suppose so. It's another visual just came. So if the wave falls back into the ocean, this is the ocean, droppy ocean. The wave was here and falls back into the ocean. Then there's just the ocean. This is the ocean doing everything. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. So beautiful. Total love. Mm. Mm. And that's probably the title, Leaving Yourself Behind, the wave crashing back into the ocean. Yeah. Of course you hope to reunite with the ocean. Yeah, of course. Of course. You hope to remember what you are already. You hope to remember it, recognize it, and to crash, drop back in. Right, so welcome. Thanks for asking the questions. So I like to do at least an hour, but I'm cold and I'm hungry and there's no more questions, so give it a minute and then I'm gonna maybe end the stream. So leaving yourself behind. Mm. So this is it. This is it. All that's been longed for and wanted is this ocean, this what is. This is what we are. This is all there is. You aren't some moving, passing description or story or feeling or idea or experience. This ocean never changes, never moves, and yet it's everything. All the changes, all the movement. But it cannot be anything else than what it is. This emptiness, this fullness, this everything. Thank you so much for joining the stream. Lots of love. Bye.